Hello and welcome to Extreme DX. I'm your host Bruce. In this week's video we're going to address some questions that came up from my last video concerning the Kudosin DX-286, some criticisms, some questions, so let's get started. First question we're going to address is one from a reader that suggested that I could directly couple the Turk AM Advantage if I didn't turn on the internal amplifier. That would prevent it from overloading. So I'm calling this configuration 9.
And I would just suspect that people will have an experience of greater vitality.
Them that I said ought not to be preached. Those that didn't want to believe, as well as those that...
The revival. The Irwins of great people, the sweet family, and happy belated...
Is this hard? It's a hard life, isn't it? It's hard to live in this world.
Do it monthly, that's great. It helps the budget. One-time gift is great too, and we'll send you a copy of...
Configuration 10 is going to be the C. Crane twin coil ferrite antenna, off screen because it has to go clear across the table.
Enters into this Gentile region, enters into a region which for the Jews
they know what foster care is until you actually walk it out with someone. So as we got
Configuration 11 is going to be the 2-foot loop, also off camera because it's so large.
I want to scare you away from eating more fruits and vegetables. In fact, quite the opposite is true.
by anyone else apart from the intervention of He who is the Lord of all.
for foster care.
It's possible.
All 370,000 kids.
Right.
In a home.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a nice New York?
All right, let's do some science. First off, I got a little better with OpenOffice. So I was able to put frequencies on the horizontal axis and dB readings on the left axis. So we can figure out a lot from that. Now, one of the criticisms that I had was that there was no control on the test. And that is really a valid criticism because the DX-286 has a dB meter, whereas the RF-2200 has an S meter. So there's no way to correlate the two directly on this graph. However, the RF-2200 comes in just slightly above the middle of these family of curves. So, admittedly, that's a subjective conclusion, but if you go back and listen to the audio, I think you'll find that I support that. Okay, so the next criticism I had was that I didn't have the Turk and the C. Crane direct coupled because I was concerned about overloading. And in my lab, they did overload, but they were overloading with interference. So I did discover that outdoors I was able to actually direct couple them without overloading. So that data is on here and there's no overloading. Obviously the bottom trace is just the whip by itself. But if you go up to the really light blue trace, that's the whip plus LNA. So you can see that the internal LNA is something around a 20 dB gain. Now, if I put the whip plus the LNA plus 2 clip leads, it looks like about another 20 dB. The very best traces are a surprise. It was the C. Crane antenna inductively coupled. That surprised me because I thought that direct coupling the C crane would be better. However, these traces may be a bit misleading in that you get some pretty good gain from just the internal ferrite by itself. If you just look at that, it is on the graph. Let me see if I can spot it here. Just the internal ferrite. And it comes in with about 20 dB gain by itself. So if you factor that in, the C crane direct is a pretty good configuration, although I had an outlier at 820. So if I were going to pick the best configurations, I would probably pick the C crane or the 2-foot loop. And that's it for this time. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up and the like. That helps me out. I'm going to try to monetize this page, so I hope you all don't mind that. It might mean an advertisement or two in the future.